Hey girl, hey, happy self-care Saturday talk. On this week's edition, we are going to talk about the different types of abuse that I had to basically, heal from. So I discussed on other episodes of, dealing with issues in my childhood and things like that. I just wanted to put another layer on there and kind of just layer this on like a lasagna, so to speak. So on this next layer, we're going to talk about the different types of things that I have occurred through not only in my childhood, but also in some of my adult relationships as well. A lot of these things I wasn't even aware of, to be honest. Years ago, the things that we know now, or at least talked about, I don't think was talked about then. At least it wasn't in my wheelhouse of knowledge, and even it wasn't coming up in conversations with others. I had healed through, my mommy issues. I had to deal with through, the daddy issues of having not a dad there, that brought on some obstacles all on it of its own. And then I also had to heal through emotional trauma, like emotional abuse, physical abuse. I had to heal through some relationships that I had, in childhood and such, of dealing with narcissists in my life. And, when I was going through it, I didn't really know that they were narcissists. That really wasn't a conversation or even something that was even brought up. People were other things, but not those. So it's just been in a lot of different things that I've had to heal through, right? So I had to heal, through like the abandonment issues, which caused a lot of codependency, and it also made me like anxious attached, because I was kind of always worried about the person leaving. That was kind of something that was triggered in my childhood and that led to my adult years. So I had to heal through that. And now I am like really proud of that, actually, because I was very anxiously attached, and I would allow people to treat me in ways that I necessarily didn't deserve, but I didn't really know any better neither, because I was so anxiously attached. I was just, basically doing anything that I thought would work in order to get the love and support that I wanted out of people. But in hindsight, that never worked neither, right? Because the more you push, the more this, the more that, the people are just, gonna go away. So a lot of the things that I did necessarily wasn't the best way for me to do it. You live and you learn, and that's why I'm here making these videos and sharing my experiences with all of you. I am, like the emotional abuse that triggered a lot of worthiness issues, that triggered a lot of self-confidence issues, self-confidence and self-esteem, obviously, and just different things like that. And me always kind of like doubting myself, because people would, just kind of put me down, things like that, and they always just made me feel like nothing I ever did was good enough for them, right? So it was just always, then again, going back to that anxiously attached and always just trying harder and harder and harder, and it just really never got me to anywhere. I was like a hamster on this wheel, just constantly spinning and hoping for something different, and never got anything different besides just the same cycle. I'm happy I'm able to kind of chuckle it up at myself now, because it was just a lot of tough times that I had to go through, which then, with all of the physical trauma that was more in so of some of my relationships that I've had, my past relationships, and then, that kind of led to, again, more worthiness issues, and, always going from like a fight or flight to survival mode. I was always like in between those. System was always in between either fight or flight or, you know, survival mode because of the different things that I was going through. Being a young mother and stuff like that, people always told me, like, you know, that I would never find a good man, I would never do this, I would never do that. And, you know, after a little while of kind of having like those kind of experiences, you kind of almost started to believe it. So I accepted that abuse for a while, and I accepted, you know, different things that I shouldn't have accepted because I thought, you know, I couldn't get better. And with my anxiously attached, I was clinging on to whatever love that I can get. And that's why it's like really important for people to talk about, you know, love languages and different things like that. But we also really need to be aware and try to heal our attachment styles, right? Because there's the avoidant, there's the dismissive avoidance, there's the anxious, and then there is there's another one, I can't think of the name of it right now. The one that we're trying to aim towards to get. I'll leave it in the comments or something, because I just can't think of the proper word for it right now. But those attachment styles are really important to be aware of and know what they bring on, you know. So if you're dating somebody or not, you can kind of tell what kind of person you're getting involved with, right? Because if they are anxiously attached or avoidant attached or dismissive avoidant attached, you know, there's definitely some grounds and more boundaries that you would have to put for each one to make sure that you are trying to have the most healthiest relationship that you possibly could in those circumstances. Because, you know, like I said, unfortunately, people aren't going to want to do the healing work because you say, you know, you should heal. The person has to want it within themselves in order for them to do it, right? Because nobody is going to change and make these very significant changes to their lives unless they want to for themselves. So, you know, it's better to be aware of their attachment styles and know, okay, well, is this something that I want to accept? Or actually, even better yet, is that your attachment style, right? Because do you know your attachment style? I didn't even really know attachment styles was a thing until just a couple years ago, you know? So now that I know, and I know that I was the avoidance, right? And, you know, I ended up being with the dismissive avoidant and the avoidance. So it was very, very different. And those could even potentially, you know, be some of like the issues that maybe in your family dynamics. You know, maybe some of your family members have these type of attachment issues, because it's not only in dating. I mean, it's in friends. These attachment issues show up in every type of relationship, right? So it's just harder to kind of accept when you're like with somebody and, you know, you're trying to grow and have a life with them and live under the same roof and stuff. That's when you really want to make a conscious, you know, decisions of knowing and trying to really figure out if that's what you want. But if you are, you know, an anxious attachment style, if you have an anxious attachment style, or if you have an avoidance style, you know, I would definitely start, the other attachment style is secure attachment, where I am trying to get, and I've done a lot of of healing. So I really feel like I'm very close to that. I'm not holding on to people, begging for people to want to be with me and to love me and all of that, because at this point in the game, like, I could care less. If you're not going to treat me the way I deserve, and you're not going to show up the way that I want, I don't want you. And that's a really great, healthy thing, right? And some people are like, oh my goodness, that's kind of really dramatic. But it is also dramatic to stick with somebody who isn't healthy for you and doesn't have the best interest for you, because you are just accepting whatever, the bare minimum out of people, because you're anxiously attached and you're just wanting to hold on to whatever love that you can possibly get because of all the circumstances in your life. These different types of abuses like that really affect your lives in different ways. It all kind of intertwines though as well. Like when you are, feeling unheard and unseen, and like you can never do anything right, that definitely triggers your attachment style, your worthiness, your self-confidence, your self-esteem. And then that triggers how you show up in your relationships and even with your job, and you would just basically accept the pay that they want to give you or whatnot, because even if it is minimal pay, because you don't find yourself worthy enough to ask for more, or you may feel that is uncomfortable or whatnot, but that all comes from the worthiness within yourself. So I hope that makes sense. So yeah, that's where we are going this week. We are touching on just how these different things that I have had to heal from, and how they have all connected and impacted my life, but has also, showed me a lot too. I've learned a lot of lessons from these different things, and I am grateful that they have happened, because I wouldn't be here talking to you today if not. So even though that those were some trying times during my life, and I am so proud that I can say that I'm grateful for those times, because when I was going through them, I didn't feel like I was grateful. And so you may be looking at me like, whoa, you're kind of crazy. And I understand that, because if I would have talked to somebody a few years ago and they say that they were thankful of all of the different circumstances that they have gone through, led to a whole bunch of different traumas in their life, I wouldn't have been able to understand that. And so maybe you can't understand that at this time neither, and that's okay. But I think over time you will be able to, because we don't grow and learn when life is perfect. We only grow and learn when things are rough. And unfortunately, sometimes we have to go on some rough paths in order to learn what we need to learn to become better humans, to be able to grow and teach our kids some better things that we weren't maybe taught when we were little. So it all, everything happens for a reason. Now it's time to heal and overcome those things so we can become the best versions of ourselves. So I hope you have a great day and a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.